Over the last few days, I have managed to sift through 150 to 200 plus companies, and I've managed to narrow it down to 4 to 5 companies that A, look rather profitable as an investment, and B, diversify my portfolio. And you guys know how I like to talk about that. Check out last week's video here if you didn't catch it. But enough of that. I'm here to talk about this one financial term that I've seen as I've looked through all these companies, and what I've come to a realization is that a lot of companies use this financial term, and I mean a lot of companies use this financial term to trick their investors and or trick their potential future investors. And it's all psych. You guys thought I left you, huh? Keep watching. Hi guys, it's your favorite YouTuber again, Dami Solaru, and you're watching DS Learning Finance. Whoa. Well, when it comes to studying financials of a company, you've got 3 major documents to look at. 1, the income statement. 2, the cash flow statement. Slipped my mind, don't know why. And 3, the most important one, which is the balance sheet. And what the balance sheet basically tells you is the difference between assets, i.e. things that brings the company money, from liabilities, i.e. things that takes money away from the company. And when you're left with a positive outcome, that means you have more assets than liability, which is a good thing. Now, if you look through any balance sheet, I just happen to look through 150 companies. Not that I'm counting, but yeah. If you look through just one, lazy, yeah, you'll see this term called goodwill, and that's all I've got to say about this term. Just check this out. In this balance sheet, you can see the word goodwill. And what this term basically means is the amount of money that this company offers as a brand. It's basically an imaginary number that companies can use to make numbers seem positive or less negative. Exactly. This term is a bunch of, and by that I mean like this allows companies to basically paper over their cracks, paint over it, plaster over it, build a bridge on top of it, absolutely cover it with nice, pretty wallpaper that looks good but doesn't actually provide any structural benefit. Okay, I think I was going down too far of a road there with the metaphor. But what I basically mean is that it allows companies to make up a number so that their final sum at the bottom can be positive. So it can look good when in actuality it isn't good at all. Let me give you an example. Sainsbury's is a big supermarket worldwide. Yeah, it's massive in the UK, but yeah, they have a goodwill of £189 million. I didn't say 1,000, I didn't say hundreds, I said £189 million, guys. That's what they put as their brand value. They put that price there. But the most worrying part is that's like baby's work. That's like infant's work compared to what other companies do. Some companies put their goodwill value as billions of pounds. But even if you're looking at investing in a company and they have a certain amount of money in this goodwill section, that doesn't mean you should automatically close it out, not consider it. Like most of the companies that I've narrowed this search down to, they have goodwills in them. But the key part is noticing how much does that balance sheet, that positive sum at the bottom line, that positive sum total, net, whatever word they choose for it, whatever that word is, whatever that total amount is, you need to make sure how much is that total amount reliant on the goodwill. In other words, what that basically means is that final net value, subtract the goodwill value from it, And if the number is still positive and looks a reasonable amount, then you know that's a good balance sheet. But if the number is still positive but doesn't look as attractive, then you know that they've been playing some games there with that value. And even worse, if the number is negative, that means that that company is trying to fool you basically by having their goodwill balance out and making sure that the numbers add up at the end of the day, which is bad. But they're allowed to do it. But the worst part is, if you didn't know this, you would have been fooled into thinking that that company was doing well because they put 10 billion trillion pounds in their goodwill section. So please, please, please guys, make sure you consider this goodwill, and whatever balance sheet you're looking at, make sure you subtract the final sum, total, net, whatever you want to call it. Make sure you subtract the goodwill from that value, and that basically tells you the true balance sheet of the company. Also, watch out for negative goodwill, which you can find in the liability and debt section of a financial balance sheet. And what this basically is obviously a bad thing. It's normally a public portrayal of the company because of the company doing something very, very bad. So a good example could be a recent high death rate with an engineering company because they're not doing safe practices. Another example could be a drug outbreak because maybe a pharmaceutical company did initial tests for a drug and deemed it safe, but later down the line they realized that maybe that drug causes another disease, or maybe that drug can even kill people. So it's basically anything that brings a sort of bad view, a bad light on the company in a negative way and affects the public. That's what negative goodwill normally falls under. So if a company has a negative goodwill, it's quite a bad sign that something is going wrong there, and that may not completely rule the company out, but it should make you want to dive in deeper and find out what the company is doing about it, and also what the company did for it to occur basically. So have they been negligent with following their regulations, stuff like that. So the moral of the story is, take the goodwill term with a very, your finest grain of salt, and make sure that whenever you're looking at the balance sheet and the sum at the end, that final dotted line in bold, that number does not include the goodwill, because that way you know you're not being tricked and you know you've got a true representation of the balance sheet. Just to put this into perspective, as I've mentioned, I've gone through 150 to 200 companies over the last few days looking at their financial receipts, and I can say comfortably that 60% of them, 60% at least, had a considerable goodwill. And after doing the sums, after taking away that goodwill amount from the total value at the bottom, the financial balance sheet didn't look as good, and it didn't look even worthwhile, to be honest. But I'm here to give you guys the gems, and if you want to find out more gems, then you know what to do. Keep watching, like, subscribe and share. Come on. DS Learning in Finance. Bye guys.